Well, hey there, idiots. Welcome back to Observe. In today's video, we're going to be analyzing the nonverbal communication again of Blake Lively in regards to the entire fiasco with Baldoni and the It Ends With Us movie. More on that in just a second. Let's go ahead and roll the intro first. Okay, so this is not the first video that I've done on this case. If you would like to have the actual background, everything that's kind of going on with that, go ahead and check out the other videos. They're linked in the description of this one. A quick little update for things that have happened here. Baldoni has released all of the evidences that he said he would onto his platform, and when he did that, Blake Lively also changed her accusations towards him, which many people are now noticing that perhaps she was lying before and is changing what she said now to fit what was presented. And honestly, many legal experts are saying that this is one of the risks of what Baldoni has done, is that he has put all of the evidence out, and because of that, Lively's side can now tailor anything that they want to say to what exists. And what we're left as the public, the viewers, feeling is whether Lively or Baldoni is the worst out of the two of these, and that's what I'm doing today, is I'm going back into the annals of time to be able to see where are instances of problematic behavior from Lively as opposed to problematic behavior from Baldoni. It's been more difficult for me to track down problematic behavior from Baldoni. For some reason, I'm just feeling like perhaps I'm missing it. So if you do have any of those footages or anything that I could go to for that to be able to have some more information on Baldoni's side, please let me know in the comments of this video. This specific interview has popped back up again, and this is not in regards to It Ends With Us. It is in regards to another movie entirely. However, it is still building more understanding of the character of Blake Lively. And we'll talk about what's important with that as we go through. I think that is enough of the disclaimers and everything. Let's go ahead and actually go through this. It's a pretty short clip, but we have a bit to talk about.
The chair or him? Him. Okay, so if you could just kind of favor your right side. So just shift over in your seat a little. No, to your right. Move over this way.
Oh, like that?
There you go.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. This is Magnus Sundholm from Sweden.
How do you say your name?
Magnus Sundholm.
Oh,
Magnus
that's close.
Sundholm.
Yeah, it was very
From Sweden.
Very good.
Okay, so something that I want to be able to make note of. Obviously, setting is a setting, it's an interview, we're not going to talk about anything they're wearing. So, what I'm noticing here is that Lively is already much more warm and open to this interviewer than in the last problematic interview that I did an analysis on from her, which interestingly enough, the interviewer here is in a relationship with the interviewer of the prior bad experience here, so it seems as though 2 for 2 here, having rough experiences with Lively. Now, she's very, like I said, open to Magnus himself, quick to laugh, quick to make a joke and have some conversation start up, which is a different energy than what we saw in the last interview. There's all sorts of accusations and ideas coming up around that. However, it's not really here nor there. Then we also want to be able to make note of immediately at the beginning of this, she's gripping this bottle of alcohol, which we'll get to that in just a second. And in fact, it all kind of hinges around that very alcohol and Lively's inability to understand or respect boundaries. So let's do that.
Show me that again. Got it.
Okay, you have speed.
Magnus,
Yes.
when I saw you earlier, you said, "Oh, let me get a shot." And I thought you meant of alcohol, but you meant a photograph. So guess what? Time to put up.
And what are we drinking?
Aviation American Gin, who's
And-
owned by a very, very sexy man, who also happens to be my husband.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know. So let's see. Let's see what you think.
We're starting early.
Yeah, we are starting. What better time to start?
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, gonna go ahead and pause here. So this is the beginning of an interview for another movie. A simple favor, as you could see on the screen, but Lively has taken advantage of this to be able to push the family's little aviation gin line, or more specifically, her husband's aviation gin line, in the middle of this, which fits with things that she's done in other areas where she's tried to capitalize on somebody else's work to promote her own work as well, which is complex, but really neither here nor there in the accusations that have been thrown and brought up with the It Ends With Us controversy. So I wanted to go ahead and make note of that. There will also be some more behavioral facets that will come into play here soon. So far, all that she's done is utilized another opportunity to promote another brand rather than one that she's talking about. Let's continue.
Cheers. How does the taste test
It
happen?
is good.
Oh, your voice went higher an octave. Just, come on, just shoot it. Just shoot it.
I'll be
The
singing
interview
if
will
I
be so
finish
much
this.
more interesting. We just do like straight shots.
But I hear you.
All right, gonna go ahead and pause here. So she takes a sip, he takes a sip. If I remember correctly, I do not believe that her drink is the gin. I think it's something else. She's just pressuring him to have the alcohol. And then on the word of pressure, that continues here as she starts to say, oh, why don't you just go ahead and shoot it, take a shot. He starts doing some defensive nonverbal communication. You see his hand, his palm come out here, especially in regards to the shot itself. He's doing a postural rechange, and that agitation could be, well, in regards to feeling a little bit uncomfortable, as he's already mentioned, it's pretty early, and he's already shown some defensiveness against the drinking in general, and she's starting to push a little bit harder, and he starts to do some other manipulators as well as this agitation comes in. You see him rub his hands, you see him do the postural rechange. There's a forced laugh that comes in there as well, as he's trying to be polite in regards to this pressure that Lively is putting on, as Lively continually is circumventing what he's presenting non-verbally and pushing for a specific goal that she has in mind, which is for him to take a shot of this alcohol early on in an interview, which is fascinating. Now she's settling back into an arms crossed side of things here, which that has shown up earlier in this interview. I did try to see if I could get a hold of the surrounding interview as well, but it was very difficult to get a hold of. So we're working with a very limited amount of information here on that. However, we are seeing her settle back in kind of into arms crossed, which could be seen as being closed to something along those lines, but since it existed elsewhere beforehand, it's not really in relation to an emotional tell, so I'm less likely to hold any weight to that non-verbally, besides perhaps it's just where she's comfortable in this specific interview. Let's continue.
But I hear you don't drink, right?
I don't drink, no. This is coffee. But it's
So-
in a martini glass. Isn't that classy? Actually, I don't even like coffee, but I drink it.
Gonna go ahead and pause here. So that's where I was saying you don't drink. No, this is coffee. If you haven't watched the last interview that I did on Lively, she very much took control of the interview and steered it to wherever she wanted to talk about, whatever she wanted to talk about for the dominating span of the interview. And she is about to do the same thing here, as we'll see. Let's just go ahead and watch.
But I drink it because I love the way they crush the beans and they talk about it and the story of the, the origin of them and, the milk and the foaming it and all of that. And the same thing with alcohol when I hear about, how this is distilled in Portland and how the reason this one is winning all the taste tests actually is because gin has a high juniper content, which is why a lot of people don't like gin, but this has no juniper and like all of that story I just love because I like storytelling. It's what I do for a living. And then, martinis are so sexy. I mean, that's why they're in this movie. It's just straight gin. It's not. There's nothing fancy to a martini, but the glass and the way you swirl it and you dump it and you twist the lemon and it's just like, oh, it's so sexy. So that's why.
All right, so that, according to Magnus, the interviewer there, that was about half of the allowed interview space for him to be able to work with here. And she just dominated it again. Now, something that was different from the time before is that it was in disregard to the interviewer. She dominated it by speaking to her counterpart almost the entirety of the time, leaving the interview to just sit there. This time, Lively decides to take control of what was going on in the narrative with that and talk about something else while not really interacting with anybody, talking to the interviewer, but about nothing that the interviewer prompted or wanted to talk about. Again, this is about a movie. This is about somebody else's work that Lively starred in, that she's supposed to be promoting. And so far, it's all only been about Lively and her husband's brand and things that she wants to talk about rather than the interview itself. Again, showing a level of disrespect to the interviewer, but also to the piece of work that she was supposed to be promoting in general. Let's continue.
So that's why. I think it's sexy. Down it.
Here we go.
Come on. Woo! Yeah!
Should have had that before.
All right, and so there's some silent clips in there as well that kind of add some context. They're pieced from earlier in the video with a little bit more around it. However, as you can see non-verbally during those silent pieces, again, being very urged by Lively to take this shot of alcohol at a time that the interviewer was not really wanting to or prepared for. If you would like to be able to watch both Magnus and his partner kind of talk about this little segment, I've also linked that in the description of this video so you can go and watch that as well, so you can kind of hear how he was feeling. But again, non-verbally speaking from him, you see a lot of that defensiveness and uncomfortableness come in there as he's trying to navigate this rather distasteful situation where Lively is pushing for somebody else to drink alcohol when she's not going to drink alcohol at a time that they don't want to, ignoring their boundaries, ignoring the nonverbal signs. And now, how this all applies into this situation of the Baldoni "it ends with us" scenario is that for Lively's side of things, she's trying to present that she was very taken advantage of throughout the entirety of everything, that she had no control, that he was very dominating and all of these various things, which could genuinely be true. We haven't been able to see the evidence of everything quite yet, so we're really still left taking whose words for whose words here. Now, what's fascinating is that in the "It Ends With Us" movie, she was a director. She did have control, and we've seen in multiple different areas, she has zero issue making other people feel uncomfortable when it benefits her. We see in many other instances where she has no issues pushing against pressure or flying in the face of what would be needed or expected or wanted of her without any of the concerns about the repercussions or perception around that. So that to me seems to be a little bit of a behavioral misalignment from what's being presented as to what's actually being stated in the case files. It's complex to be sure. Again, I would like to be able to continue down this pathway into Baldoni's side as well. If we're able to find these instances of perhaps problematic behavior or questionable behavior at very least, to where we can see what are the nonverbal saying in these areas, because we're getting a better and better understanding for Lively. And unfortunately right now, it seems as though the more understanding we get and the more that comes out and the more that develops here, it's not shedding very good light on Lively's side of things. It is certainly a complex case to be sure. What a mess. So if you did like this video and you would like to be able to keep up on this entire scenario, this whole fiasco, and you want to see more nonverbal communication around it, consider subscribing here, hit the like button, do all those things. Like I said, if there's anything that you would like me to be able to take a look at, be it another drama situation or a true crime case or what have you, anywhere where you feel like a nonverbal read would be either beneficial or entertaining, just let me know in the comments of this video and I might be able to get around to it. But I don't know, I think that's all that I've got for today. My name is Logan and you have been oh so awesome as you always are, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers, guys.